Hey gamers, today we're going to look at Furstenfeld. Let's check it out. Setup for the game is easy. What you're going to do is each player's going to get a player board, 2 coins, a little help aid here on which buildings do what, and of course they're going to have their own deck of cards. Now each player's going to have their own deck of cards allocated by their color. They're also going to have a player marker. They'll start right here on the 0, and they're going to shuffle this deck and draw 3 cards at the beginning of the game. Now there are 3 resources here. There's water, there's hops, and there's barley here. They have a spot for each one of these on the board, and then a spot for the silver and gold coins. Silver's worth $1, golds are worth 5. You're going to deal out as many of these. You're going to shuffle these. These are the store decks here about what they want, their demand here. You're going to shuffle these out and deal them out equal to the number of players. So here I have it set up for a 3-player game. So I would actually just bring out 3 like so. And also, as you see, I've started each one of the resources here at 1. That's how you're going to start each one of them. Now, also over here, there is a building number here. This is 8, and it goes up every time. You get X amount of buildings built, and I'll talk about the monuments in a minute. But every time a monument is built, you would take one of these brown cubes, put it on there, equal to the number of players. And once all in the 3-player game, once all 3 cubes have been placed on that, you're going to remove this card and the price will go up on those little monuments. I'll get to what monuments are in a minute. So how the game works, it works in a couple of phases. First phase, like I said, everyone's going to draw up to 3 cards. So actually, you start the game with 3. So in the first round, you're actually going to start with 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. After that, you're going to harvest your goods. Now, if you see on the board, it has the imprint of 1 of each: water, hops, and barley here. So, but just like that. All right. So then you'd get 1 of those each. After that, you would sell your goods to the market. Now, starting with the player, and usually the first player is determined just however the first time. But after that, whoever has the lowest amount of income, and I'll explain that in a minute, will go first always. And so in this case, let's say it was my turn, I could sell any or all of these to any one of these vendors. So let's say I sold it to here. Now you can't split it up. I can't sell it here, here, and there. I have to go, if I go to one place, I have to go to it the entire way. And let's say the other players did that as well. They would get the money equal to the amount that they're paying for, which right now is 1. So each player would get $3 extra, and they'd add those $3 into their pile. Now after that, then they get to build up to 2 buildings if they want to. And there are several buildings here that can help you out during the game. This one gives you 3 coins. This one costs, all buildings cost 2 coins less, you know. This one lets you have an extra card at the end of your turn. This one lets you move down the tracker a little bit at the end of the round. So maybe you do have the most points, but you could move down 3 points. You may be not, going last that turn. So they all do everything. And again, this little card here, this little job aid helps you out and tells you what each building is for. But the costs are right there on the corners. That one's 5, that one's 7, that one's 2, and I can build up to how many I have money for. Now, if you see these, there's some with the Roman numerals on it. Now in the advanced game, you have to build these in order, but in the regular game, these are monuments that I said you had to build on your board. And the goal is to build all 6 of these on your board. But as you see, these do not generate a resource, nor do they give you a special ability. So basically, it's going to hinder you from extra land, because if I wanted to place these 2 out there, I'd pay my 4 coins. Next round, maybe I wanted to put this 5 out, and I wanted to put this 7 out. Well, where do I want to put this one? Well, I'll put it right over here. So you can play on top of other buildings. You just can't play on top of monuments. Once a monument's there, it stays there on your board for the end of the game. And of course, the first time you build a monument, it's going to cost 8. Once 3 monuments are built, either by you or by other players, the cost will go up by 2 every time until you get to the very end where the cost is 18. All right, and so anyway, that's kind of how that works. Now there are other cards in this deck that give you more wheat or more barley and everything. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3. And there's costs associated with that, and you have to pay the cost. And you can place on top of these 2. And so you'll be generating funds, getting special special abilities, and of course trying to build monuments. Now, that's the build phase. Now, after the build phase, then phase 5 is where we have to discard the rest of the cards in our hand down to 1, unless you have a special card that says differently. So out of all these, I can only keep 1. Let's say I want to keep this one for later, and so I discard these. These go to the bottom of your deck, which is kind of ingenious. I'll talk about that during my review, but you can only hold on to 1. After everyone's gone down to 1, after that we go to phase 6, which is basically cleanup. We're basically going to move these prices up and down on the market, determining on how many was sold. Now, let me just kind of show you something for just a minute here. For instance, here, there's only 1 water sold. Because they needed another one, the demand just rose on that one. Because they needed 2 wheat, it goes up on that. Because they got enough barley, that stays the same, or hops. I don't know what is what. So you'll move all these according to the market. Now, if ever anyone was sold more than what they needed, like this person sold 2 hops to this vendor, when they only wanted 1, well, any additional hops, it would subtract the market, so this would go down to 0 for the next round. And so then you'd remove all these off the board and then put out some more demand cards out there, and then you would start it again. And as you're moving around on the board, these prices will eventually go up to 2 and sometimes even 3. So you can basically manipulate the market in a bit by holding back some goods. And I just realized I forgot to tell you how to count up your points at the end of every round to see who goes first. What you're going to do is count out any cash on hands, that's $2, plus the value of your buildings, which here would be 7, which would give me a total of 9. Now, whoever's the lowest on this track would go first on the next time, and so on and so forth. You would rearrange your track either over here or back and forth just to determine who the first player is. After you do that, you'll start all over again, of course drawing up to 3 cards and starting to gather your resources, then selling those at the places here, building up to 2 buildings, and then of course discarding down to 1, and then once again doing the cleanup phase. The game ends when someone has all 6 of their monuments out on the board, and basically that's the game. Final thoughts. What do I think about the game? Wow, this is a big box, right? When I got this game, I didn't think it was going to be that big. I've been looking at this game for well over a year until I finally decided to pull the trigger. Why? Because it's super cheap online. I've heard conflicting thoughts about it. Some people say it's kind of boring, kind of run-of-the-mill, but I actually like it. Now, I don't own any Friedman Freeze games. I know there's some popular ones out there, but they never appeal to me. His games usually don't appeal to me, but I was surprised by this one. I really did like the theme. I think it looks really good. The game is really tight. It plays okay with 2 players. Basically, you want 3, 4, 5 players, and it gets just more awesome that way, the more players. And it's kind of wild because there's a lot of different strategies here. I love how when you're trying to build monuments, that's going to hurt your player board. You want all those cards. You don't want to cover up certain things. Also, depending what gets covered up may determine your gameplay. I remember one time people covered up all their water just by accident. 3 players did, and I didn't. Well, then water was shooting up to like a 3 on every place, every little inn wanted that water, and so I could sell it, and I had 2 or 3 water fields, and I was making bank, man. But just because you're making bank, some of those big point cards are always going to put you going last, and that was the thing that hurt me in the end. Someone just kind of snuck up from behind and got those other 2 monuments built. That's the other thing. I love how those monuments go up in price the more they get built. Man, you keep thinking, okay, I'll do it on the next round, but then 2 other people they build the buildings, and already the price went up another 2 coins. You're like, no, I should have waited. I love that about this game. I love everything about this game. I think it is really a fun game. Of course, probably it's mid-weight or even, I don't know, it could be beginner level. I don't know, maybe medium level game. But I just love the tightness of the board. I love how you can manipulate the market. Sometimes you don't want to sell. A lot of those buildings can do awesome things. You want all those buildings, but you can't really have that many. You want to get all the fields producing, but you don't want to have just fields producing and nowhere to put your monuments. Just so many good decisions here. I really like it, and like I said, the game's super cheap to get secondhand. So should you get it? Yeah, I think so. I really love it. All right, gamers, that's all the time I have for now. Until next time, you know what to do. Game on.